We're here with Solbach, the designer of all of the Duotone kites this year, and we've noticed that Alula is one of the main trends this year, and you guys have been designing Alula kites since the very, very beginning and making some of the highest performance ones. So I think this is the perfect place to start asking questions about Alula and the kites that you've been building. So let's maybe start off with the Rebel here.
Yeah, so this is the new Rebel D-Lab. It's brand new for 2025. We're pretty excited about it. This is kind of our newest addition to our Big Air range. So this is a kite we've been working on for quite a while now, and it's extremely good at jumping high and giving you a lot of hang time. Also great for kite loops. And we've done some interesting things with the Alula material in this kite. We've gone to a smaller leading edge diameter, which we're pumping to a higher inflation pressure. We're pumping it to 10 psi. We've done a lot of work in our Duotone lab, working on different seam constructions. We have a really strong closing seam here on the leading edge. It's a completely closed seam, so there's no open areas for sand to get in there or anything. It's a really strong seam, can easily hold the 10 psi pressure and well beyond. Also have a new inner segment seam that works at really high pressure. And what we've done with this leading edge diameter is to taper it, especially out towards the tips. So it's got a smaller diameter in the center, and then it pretty aggressively tapers out. You can see that the tip shape here, the tip diameter on this 8 meter is pretty small. And yeah, we're just finding that that is good for quite a few things. Helps the kite to fly a little bit quicker to the edge of the window, and reduces a lot of the drag in the wingtip area. So that's great for quicker steering, better follow through of the turn. Once the kite gets moving, you don't have that drag in the wingtip slowing it down. So yeah, we're pretty excited about this new Rebel D-Lab. I think the easiest kite in our range to take out really powered up and just put the kite overhead, sheet in, and get a really easy takeoff every time and lots of hang time. So pretty great Big Air kite.
It's pretty cool. Let's maybe check out the Neo down here.
All right, yeah, then we've got the Neo D-Lab.
Feels like 30 when you're up there, that's for sure.
Also brand new. I'm gonna steal this kite from you, Dan. Yeah, this is a complete redesign from its predecessor. We actually launched the first Neo D-Lab in 2022. It was a 2023 model. And then in 2024, it was a carryover. So we had the same Neo D-Lab for 2 years. And part of the reason we did that is when we came up with this new one, we really wanted to make sure we had something significantly better and a really big improvement. And I think we've definitely managed to do that with this kite. This kite, compared to the old one, has a much bigger range, especially on the top end of its range. You can ride this kite really powered up. Has really complete D-power. It's much more agile and quick and snappy compared to the previous model. We did something similar with the leading edge diameter on this one, like I talked about on the Rebel, where it's a little bit smaller diameter in the center, but tapers out really thin towards the tips. Okay. And the thing you'll notice about this kite, like I said, much more range. It still has that really good low end range, but much better on the top end, way better D-power. Means you don't have to have as many kites in your quiver, which is great because if you're getting a D-Lab kite and you want to splurge for the expensive kite, it's nice to not have to have every kite in the quiver. You have a really big range. And this kite is just very agile, very quick turning, very snappy, much more lively than the previous model. And I think this is definitely the best, most high-performance freeride wave kite that we've ever made. And we've been pretty excited about this one lately.
Well, I'm excited to try it. So with the Alula material, for people that aren't familiar with it, so it's a little bit more expensive than a traditional material, but what are the qualities that make it worth the extra money?
Well, it's it's a stiffer material. Like I mentioned, it's really strong, it's really stiff. We can pump it to higher pressure. That has benefits because we can change things like leading edge diameter, make the kites more aerodynamic. But I think more than anything, the thing you'll notice when you get on an Alula kite is, I just call it the Alula feel. It just has this really nice mix of being really reactive and responsive, but also kind of soft and forgiving, which those two things don't normally go together. Normally if you have a kite, the kite that's really rigid and stiff, it's going to feel hard and aggressive. But Alula just has this really nice quality where it's reactive and responsive, which is great. but it feels comfortable. It absorbs the gusts really well. When you hit a gust, it doesn't the bar doesn't pull away, it doesn't get hard, it just kind of shoots to the edge, and it has this really forgiving, nice feel. So I think that's the thing that most people will appreciate about a Lula, is just that it has that really nice, forgiving feel.
Well, so you guys have been working with the Lula now since 2019. You started prototyping.
Yeah.
First ones in 2022, was it?
I think so, yeah. We did quite a few years of development there before we ever launched a kite. So I think the Juice D-Lab was maybe our first Alula kite, and then followed closely by the first Neo D-Lab.
Yeah.
And then we've had a lot of success lately with the Evo D-Lab, and now, getting really great feedback on the new Rebel as well.
Yeah. What have been the biggest things that you've learned in the R&D process working with the material?
The way that it's put together, the seams, like I mentioned, we did a lot of seam testing. We actually built up a whole lab in Munich where we can do a lot of material testing. We can analyze how the fabric behaves. We can put it on our machine and not only test it for durability, but also test the flex properties of the material. So we can look at the warp and weft and diagonal and get a really good idea of how the material behaves under load. And we have different constructions of all of our kites, and you can't just change the material without changing the kite. So there's certain things, like when you go from a standard Dacron construction, and you make it in a Lula, you have to adjust a lot of the parameters because the arc shape changes, a lot of the things change. So just learning about those changes and the changes we need to make in order to adapt to the new materials, it's just been a learning process along the way, but we've been doing it long enough now that we know what those parameters are, and we're pretty comfortable with switching between the different materials and the changes that are necessary.
Well, thanks for walking us through those two new
Cool.
Lula kites. Let's go take a look at some of the surfboards out there.